G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Today is Friday the 13th. Ooh. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. And the time here is 10:15 in the morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time. Well folks, as always, plenty going on. Look, just let me explain why I haven't been doing videos. I've got a problem with my computer at the moment, which is memory based, so I've had to get all that fixed up, and I think I've finally got that done. And now my internet connection won't work. Hasn't worked for a good couple of days now, so I've done videos, I've tried to upload them, I've forgotten about it, so I'm going to start again with here today. So look, not good. Trying to get over it again. You know, these bloody videos. You know, the internet connection. It seems to be that as soon as I talk to anybody about doing a video, magically crazy things start happening, or an interview, sorry, crazy things start happening to me as regards to internet connections, computers, you know, and it's gone past the place now of just being a joke, and I'm now seriously thinking conspiracy theories, because there's only, you know, you can't make this stuff up. It's that bad. Why it's happening to me, I don't know. I'm not that big in the whole scheme of things. If you're listening, people, I'm just a old fella from Queensland that wants to help people survive this coming cataclysm, if that's the right word, financial disaster. Interesting comments again, as per always, on my last vid, yesterday's vid, which I finally got to upload. That took a full day to upload that, so you can imagine my frustration. It's also school holidays here, so I've got kids running around going, we've got no internet there, because I'm trying to load my thing, and they, you know, gratefully went and shut it down 3 times, which meant I had to start it all again. So yeah, we've had yelling and screaming matches here like you wouldn't believe. Anyway, right, here we are. I want to go through one of the comments that was posted yesterday. So we'll go to that now, if you don't mind. Whoop. Get off my ugly mug. This from this gentleman here, Greg Holman. Hey Prep. I was inquiring about a couple of things myself. I live in an American city with a population of close to 40k. After moving out of Los Angeles 3 years ago. Well, you did the right thing there, brother. My questions are: 1. When D-Day comes for the German bank in question, will its demise have an immediate financial impact on the banks here? Okay, let's go through these one by one. Right, as I said, you're going to get, before Deutsche Bank goes, they will sacrifice 2 or 3 or 5 smaller banks around Italy, France, Spain, wherever, and blame those small banks for the problem. You're never going to read about Deutsche Bank's problems on the internet, or in the mainstream media. The reason for that is that Deutsche Bank is owned by all the major players, let's say. Always has been, always will be, before the Second World War, since the Second World War. You know, it's been run by the elites. Why else do you think it got a balance sheet of $50 trillion dollars of derivatives? There was a gentleman called Rob Kirby who was on Greg Hunter's USA Watchdog recently. I'd highly recommend that you watch that interview. He sets out very specifically what the problems are with Deutsche Bank, and tells you quite openly that, in his opinion, Deutsche Bank was taken over by the German government about 6 months to a year ago, and they've been doing everything they can to prop it up and to fix it, but you're not going to get rid of $50 trillion worth of derivatives, are you? Well, they actually got rid of 25. And I think that's debt saturation point. No one else is willing to take on any more debt. So they've got a real problem. So I hope that answers the problem. It doesn't really answer the question, actually, does it? Right. So when these banks go, the world will, you remember Lehman Brothers? Well, the world went into mayhem and Lehman Brothers. So it's going to be like that, but you'll have all these little banks being popped off, and they'll say, oh, look at that. That's bad, wasn't it? That's how they'll do this. And then, of course, it's placing enormous financial pressure on Deutsche Bank because they owned some of the things from these banks. They'll pick each one, and each one will be bigger than the last one, and then Deutsche Bank will pop. That's my honest opinion. Maybe some other financial institutions. Remember, I'm an economic hack. I'm not a financial expert, so this is just my opinion. I'm not telling you this exactly what's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they do, just to try and keep Deutsche Bank going. And they may even fix it if they get rid of the other banks. Who knows? But I doubt it. Now, as I said before, as each of these banks go, you'll have ample indication that this is what's happening, because there will be crisis after crisis after crisis. Enough to make you sit up and go, well, woo. And you're talking job losses around the world, all those horrible, shitty things that they do to us, minions working in the mines. So just you'll have to keep your eyes and your ears open to what's going on, more to the point, if that makes sense. Okay, question number 2. Look, let me just say as well, it will have a financial impact, but the financial impact will be before. So you'll have all these other banks toppling, and that will be a financial impact. But when Deutsche Bank goes, mate, it's going to go boom, like that. The whole world's going to seize up. That's how bad it's going to be. Number 2, I have some gold and platinum coins, and the gold value per ounce, as you're aware, has fallen recently. I don't want to liquidate them at this time. Do you think there is going to be a precious metal rebound in the near future? And if there is, should I wait until it does? Thanks, my friend. Okay, if you're holding gold and silver, keep holding it. Don't sell it. Don't worry about the price. Don't even look at the price. Don't even worry if you bought it at $2,000 and it's now $1,000. I know it's not, but I'm just using that as an analogy. You've bought wisely. Every single one of you should own at least an ounce of gold and at least an ounce of silver. Don't get full gold bars. That's ridiculous unless you can afford it. That's all you need. If you listen to the experts, they're saying that it could go up to $30,000, $50,000. The sky's the limit for an ounce of gold. Why will that be so? Well, it'll be driven by all the people who are trying to recover their losses in the gold market, in the money market, in the fiat money market, and also the people who, like Goldman Sachs, etc., who have recently bought shitloads of gold. They only want it to go that way. They don't want it to go down. So, common sense tells you that they're going to drive it through the roof. Because remember, they know that this is going to happen. So they're on this side of the fence with the money fiat system at the moment, and they're hoarding all their gold and silver. When this system goes, they're left standing with that. So they don't care about that. They're going to lose a lot of money on that, by the way, but this is their backup. So what do you think they're going to do? It's going to go through the roof. Absolutely through the roof. And it's going to make lots of people lots of money. You should bank on the fact of using that 1 ounce of gold or silver, if you have to pay off debts in the future. And I'm talking mortgages, etc. So don't sell it. Keep hold of it now. And like I said, it'd be very wise to buy gold and silver coins, gold necklaces, silver necklaces, bracelets. Like this is mine. I'll show you actually, I've never shown you. That's mine. That's gold, solid gold. It's actually solid gold. And I wear it on my arm. If you think you're good enough, come and try and get it off my arm. That's my point. While you're wearing it, it's yours. In the future, if you've got gold and silver in your house, get a safe, a proper safe, not one of those Bunnings special ones, or the B&Q or whatever. I can't remember what it's called in America. You know, the cheap, shitty versions. Get one that you can actually fully bolt to the floor, a concrete floor, or fully bolt to a wall. And it's got to be waterproof and fireproof. That's my honest opinion. Stick all your passports, etc. in it as well. Okay, that's that bit. Now I'm going to show you something that is extremely interesting as regards to the South China Sea. So just hang on a second. Okay, we're back. Okay, a couple of weeks ago, a lot of you would have missed this, but it was actually relayed to the Australian and New Zealand public that there was some skullduggery afoot in New Zealand and Australia as regards to our good friends, the Chinese. You know, the ones that have just built islands in the South China Sea and are now militarising them and are telling everyone, this is our land, piss off. You know, even though it's right on Philippines' doorstep and Borneo's doorstep. And that's not the only thing. There's recently been 3 massive cyber attacks on New Zealand government, the Australian government. I'm talking about ASIO here, not the Australian government as in Parliament House, but they believed that everything was hacked. And there was also a massive hack on the University of Sydney. Well, why is that relevant? Well, because the University of Sydney is apparently, believe this or not, the place that they use to monitor how good security systems are. And the Chinese easily broke into it and have infiltrated all student information in Australia and, you know, bank accounts, etc. This is fact, you can go and find it out. But like I said, a lot of you would have gone straight over your heads. You wouldn't even know that this even happened. And the same happened in New Zealand. All very interesting. Also, the Chinese have absolutely stepped up their buying spree of all Australian industries that they deem to be beneficial for their country. For example, they bought Brown's Dairies in Western Australia outright. Bang, bought the whole lot. And have actually turned it around and are now making cheese for China. Even though they stopped making cheese a couple of years ago, well, they're now full on into making cheese again. I don't think there's now a dairy in Australia that they don't own. And I think they're moving into eggs as well. And beef and cattle stations, etc. They can't own the cattle stations because they got told they can't. So, anyway, I'm digressing a bit. So, here's Australia. There's tiny little New Zealand. Tiny little New Zealand has done a rather comprehensive military review of their country and the people that they think may infiltrate their country, i.e. China. They didn't say it like that, and I'm going to show you in a second exactly how they said it, but you will be left under no delusions as to who they're speaking about when I read it. So let me go to that now. It's quite a detailed document, and I'm not going to do the whole document. You'll have to find it yourself, or go and read it yourself. So let's go to it now. Okay, this was from New Zealand Herald, and I'm going to be honest with you, I had to literally dig to find this article. The reason I know about this was because it came up on the actual radio as a news report. And I thought, that's bloody interesting. I'm going to have to look into that. Once again, the wording was very significant. So I'm going to read this to you now. Defence Minister Ron Mark issues strategic paper as basis for future defence decisions. Now remember, we're talking of a country here that's, I think New Zealand's got 3 million to 4 million people. Australia's 24, sorry. So you're kind of thinking to yourself, then why would New Zealand want to do a strategic paper in regards to, perceived threats? That's the terminology, by the way, perceived international threats. So don't even kid yourself for a second that it's not done in collusion with Australia and the United States. So that's how this happens, Oh, look, there's baddies over there. You better do a strategic review on them. Okay. So now we're going to go to the next pages and then I'll start reading them. Now, what I'm going to read you is coming directly from the paper. China comes in for some unusually explicit criticism from the government in a defence document just released by Defence Minister Ron Mark. And there's actually a link in the Herald article, Strategic Defence Policy Statement. It's quite a big document, believe it or not. And it's I started reading, but it's too much. The paper makes veiled references to growing tensions with the United States and will form the basis of future defence decisions, including acquiring new assets and the development of relationships. It warns that great power competition and complex transitional threats will disrupt New Zealand's neighbourhood in ways not previously seen. It also reaffirms that New Zealand would respond in the event of a direct military attack on Australia. That's interesting. So what do they know that we don't? Because I don't remember anybody saying we were going to get attacked. Do any of you know of anyone that said in Australia, any government officials said we're going to get attacked? Well, they did, because the head or the ex-head of the army in Australia said exactly that. We will be attacked by China by the year 2020. And he was quite open about it. He got howled down by everybody in the world, everyone in the Australian Parliament, as being, egregious statements, blah, 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 blah. But not one of them was the Foreign Secretary, the Prime Minister or anyone else. So look, there's a bit of skullduggery going on here. So let me read you the third phase of this interesting piece. The international rules-based order, which supported New Zealand's independent foreign policy, was coming under pressure, the paper said. New Zealand had an obligation to support the order and be willing to support the prevention or resolution of conflict within and between states. That's interesting. New Zealand's security outlook and its expansive maritime environment may be shaped most powerfully by a combination of force putting pressure on the international rules-based order, which will play out in newly potent ways close to home. I wonder what they mean. If you haven't guessed, they're talking about South China Sea. So theoretically, these guys are preparing for war in the South China Sea because China's obviously told everyone, we are not leaving. That's only leaving one option open for everybody else, which is to get China out of there. So let me read some more. One of the forces was the growing importance of spheres of influence, with some states pursuing greater influence in ways that sometimes challenged international norms. Now it goes on. As China had integrated into the international order, it had not consistently adopted the governance and values championed by the order's traditional leaders, the paper says. Both domestically and as a basis for international engagement, China holds views on human rights and freedom of information that stand in contrast to those prevail in New Zealand. So basically, tiny little New Zealand just walked up and kicked China in the nuts in a not too unexplicit fashion. And like I said, if you go and find that article, sorry folks, getting comfortable, you will find out the defence strategy which little old New Zealand has done, and it's actually quite comprehensive. So these guys, our New Zealand government, the Australian government and the American government, and I'm kind of guessing the UK government, are preparing to actually go to war with China. Yeah, you can buy our dairy farms, you can do what you want, but in that regard, but you ain't coming to our country and disrupting our paradigm as it exists with the USA, which is basically what they're saying. In a not too unexplicit fashion. So those things that I was saying about the South China Sea are sadly coming to pass, and we will within the next year, I'm guessing. Sorry, let me start again. I'm guessing after this consultation process is over with this document, this New Zealand document, which is very comprehensive, by the way. It's actually a really good document. There's no two ways about that. It's actually been classed as a really good document for a defence strategy, believe it or not. Now, I'm guessing that in the next couple of months, China's going to be given two options. One, leave. Two, stay. Option one would be preferred. Option two is going to cause massive complications around the world. Now, moving on from that, I reckon you'd be looking at this time next year of people saying to China, if you're still there after this date, then I'm sorry, but we're going to blast the shit out of your islands. Be under no illusions, the Chinese might think that strategically they're shit hot, but it's pretty hard to defend yourself against stealth fighters and bombers and an armada of ships. You know, they only have one aircraft carrier, for example. It's not going to end well, this, unless China relinquishes these islands. And I think you all need to understand where this is going. For all I know, China might just go, we're out of here. We see your point. But you can't have one country turning around to everybody else and saying, here's the bird, don't tell me what to do, these are our islands, when there's actually been international law saying otherwise. So yeah, this is going to get shit hot real quick. As I said, the day that they landed long-range bombers on those islands, or there was any way that it was going to affect Pine Gap, then the shit was going to hit the fan. And literally not even 2 weeks, I don't think it was, after they landed long-range bombers on those islands, the Americans told them, we're very disappointed in what you're doing on these islands, get out of them. To which China said, piss off. So just keep your eyes on that, because as much as the financial world's collapsing, or has collapsed, it's just smoke and mirrors that we're playing with now. They're not, China's setting themselves up for the next phase of the new world order, which is them, by the way. So it's bloody interesting, and it's going to affect us whether you like to believe it or not, because they're not putting those islands there just for the sake of it. They've got a big prize in mind, and that big prize is Australia, which will feed, house, clothe, and keep millions of people employed. So think about that one, folks. Okay, folks, excuse me. Here is the verse of the day. Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." I'll read that again. Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Very good. As always, folks, we'll end with the Lord's Prayer. Starting to become more and more prevalent is prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. All right, folks, I'll leave it there. As I said, the world's becoming an extremely interesting place. There's a massive power shift going on at the moment that we're all involved in, and no one's telling us. Yeah, it's pretty sad, isn't it? Anyway, prep out.